Hello, hello. So, I wanted to come on here and do a quick little return spell, how you can do return spells. So, there's a lot of different ways to do return spells, and one trick that I like to do is the bottom of your coffee. So, as you may already know, hold on a second. Okay, I had to bring a cup. As you may already know, you can do a psychic coffee cup reading. Okay, there are a couple YouTube channels that you see that bottom of the cup right there. So, this is a reading. The bottom of your cup here is a reading. This is my personal reading about me. And this is basically representing being surrounded by unending obstacles and then finding a way out and being able to exit from feeling powerless. Sometimes we have to deal with all these issues or problems at home or problems with family dynamics, whatever, right? And we will feel hopeless. We will feel powerless, is the word I was looking for initially. And in this coffee cup reading, there is a feeling of powerless and hopeless, yet the darkness does not surround the entire ring. There is an exit where maybe I didn't expect there to be an exit or a resolution. So you can use a coffee cup to do a personal reading on yourself. Sorry about that, I'm being all noisy over here. So, I make my coffee with a little filter. I boil some water and I put the little filter in, and then I put my coffee depending on what I'm using. And let's say that my coffee cup is full right now. Let's just say that it's full. You see how there's a oh my God, I really just dropped some coffee on my laptop. Trying to show you. Jesus. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot freaking show you. So you see how there's just a tiny little bit of coffee? You dump, you dump the coffee down the sink and you say, I reject, I reject and return all evil eye, all envy, all jealousy, all curses, all sorcery, and I return it back to its source. Okay? And it's something that you can do that's very simple. There will always be a bottom that has extra darkness. Sometimes, I guess, if you're drinking instant, you can't really do that. It has to be ground coffee. I don't think it works with instant. It might, but it has to be like the messier kind of coffee that has the grains. So let's do this again since the first time it didn't work. So let's say I am pouring my cup. You drink it all. And I like to leave a tiny little bit. Can you see that? Just a little tiny little bit. And I don't drink the tiny little bit. Nothing's going to happen if you drink the whole thing. But I like to leave a tiny little bit to represent the negative thoughts that came my way from other people. I reject it and I return it back to its source and I drop it down the drain. So let's say I make a whole pot of coffee and I have all this left over. Oh my gosh. Sorry that it's so hard to show you. So let's say I make a whole pot of coffee and you see how that's like the end of the coffee is usually really dark, and that darkness represents negative wishes that people had upon you. And you drop it down the sink to the sewage that represents the underworld. And you say, I reject and return all negative thoughts, all wickedness, all evil, all curses, all sorcery, all jealousy, all envy, etc. And then you empty the pot, right? So then all the residuals of the bottom of your coffee and the bottom of the coffee that you made, you dump. Similarly to the big pot of coffee, I drank an entire pot of coffee, but as you can see, I left the very bottom. The very bottom of the coffee always tastes like crap. Have you noticed that when you get to the very bottom, it tastes like crap? Because it represents all the negative wishes that people had of you. So I take the bottom of the coffee, I also dump it down the sink, and I say, I reject and return all negative thoughts back to their source, all curses, all envy, all jealousy, sorcery, anything of that nature, wickedness and evil. I reject it and I return it back to its source. And it's empty, and you just basically wash it down the drain, and all that negative energy that was supposed to hit you goes down to the sewage and energetically hits the person who had negative thoughts towards you. So that was just my tiny little example of one of the methods that I use to return negative spells. This might not make any sense to people who don't understand energy, and the ones that do understand energy will understand why this works, and also keeps you pretty protected. So I like to practice this every single day whenever I make my coffee. I dump the very bottom of my coffee down the drain and do the rejection and returning. All right, I hope that helps somebody.